A recent global report indicated that we capture 5.3 billion photos daily, or an astounding number of 61,400 images per second. It's a claim that photos that were taken in the last 2 years surpassed everything else that was photographed in the entire history of photography. So, what does that say about us? Perhaps with the desire of making memories, we are living less, or perhaps photography has become a way of life. If the definition of a photographer is someone who takes photographs, then we all are photographers in this room. But is that true? Or even if you're armed with a mobile phone, you feel like a photographer, but is that true? The question is, why do we make images? And what defines us to be people with cameras and telling stories? My earliest memory of photography goes back to the black and white images that my father used to take of Ma, me, and my sister with his medium Rolleiflex. My father was not a photographer. He just wanted to hold the people he loved endearingly. Those who mattered the most to him, those whom he loved and cared for. If you pay attention to who and what you photograph, you'll often realize that these are things that you fear losing. And that's why you're constantly holding them in some form or the other. It's as if when you click that button, you want the moment to freeze forever, perhaps. And every time you return to it, you want to hold it with the same warmth and delight that you did when you photographed it. When my father passed away last year, I revisited some of his photographs and wondered if he ever imagined that his sepia-tinted images would later be the only visual memory that we will have of our childhood. Photography is a way to understand our past, chronicle our present, and leave something for the future. I might have inherited the idea of camera as a tool from my father, but over the years, I had to develop my own distinctly unique ways of seeing, which has less to do with what I'm photographing or what I'm looking at, and more to do with what is the subject making me feel. Our relationship with images will keep changing, but what will never change, I hope, is the way we feel when we take a photograph. Has it ever happened to you that you are feeling something within, but you can't really make sense of it? That's where art helps us to funnel these untrapped emotions. That's why people make paintings, some write poems, some of us photograph. In some sense, the camera is an extension of the heart. Like a wise teacher, it has trained me to stop, to notice, and to hold what otherwise would pass me by. My images are like journal entries, like I call it visual note taking. And some things that have helped me reflect, wonder, and sigh. If cinema has taught me empathy, photography has taught me to pay attention to the world that I live in, to live in the moment, to behold what others might overlook. The only way we can make sense of our everydayness by embracing the beauty and the banality within it. Each moment is a dew hanging on the edge of time. And every time we take a photograph, out of an impulse or a contemplation, you're left with the feeling that how I wish I could hold this forever. So the idea of forever is intrinsic to photography, isn't it? I seemingly can't explain you why my gallery is filled with photographs of vanquished butterflies, fallen flowers, raindrops, or just abstract formation of light on wall, sometimes creases of bedspread. But I feel they are a way of embracing the unknown, the inexplicable, some things that we'll never understand. Photographs might feel static and two-dimensional, but can evoke our senses in unimaginable ways. Some images can feel like a haiku, and some like a warm hug. Some can remind you of something you might have lost in time, and some perhaps will remind you of what happiness feels like all over again. So perhaps photographs has more to do with our inner feelings than what we photograph outwardly. So the question is, what makes a photograph memorable? If I ask you to scroll through your phone, gallery or camera or the hard drive where you're dumping all those images, will you be able to pull out one single image that's most dear to you? And which one will that be and why? Have you ever asked yourself that question? And even if it's so special to you, will people outside of you hold it as endearingly? So perhaps what makes a photograph worth holding on to is the question. Is it the subject? Is it the light? Is it the composition? Is it the framing? Is it all of this? Or maybe something more? I'm going to leave you with 3 things that I subconsciously bring into my images. These are less of rules and more of idiosyncrasies that help me arrive at these idioms. They might reflect my influences that have shaped my discerning lens. Consider them as leitmotifs, recurring patterns that I keep going back to and photograph, just to understand them better. The moment you over-intellectualize something, you lose the charm and the beauty in it. So I'll try and keep it simple. First, let there be love. Show me your photographs and I'll tell you who and what you truly love. If in the olden days writing letters was a love language, in today's time perhaps sharing a meme with your loved one or featuring them within your ritualistic photo dump should hold the same proclamation. But the discerning ones are less hasty and more mindful of who they are photographing and how they are photographing. Yes, the blurry image of your date is allowed, but only if that image makes your date feel seen in ways they had never been seen before. Love is an emotion that seeks attention and intentionality in equal measure. Hence, you learn to use it thoughtfully with a sense of discernment. You have to be mindful how you're holding love or holding the people you love or the places you love. There must be beauty, but more importantly, they have to be truthful, because sometimes love can be messy, unsure, uncertain, anxious, shrouded in doubt and confusion. So how do you hold something that's seemingly simple, but is often fragile, amorphous, and volatile? You might love a person, a city, or an idea, but it's truly how you hold it within that language that determines your relationship with it. So I've learned in time to not take love for granted. Hence, I'm trying to be more aware of how I'm holding things, people, places, moments that are worth cherishing. No one pays attention to fallen leaves or flowers. Earlier, I used to pick them up and make a drawing or a sketch. Use it as a bookmark. You must be doing the same. But now I'm creating a museum of fallen things that I love. I also tried keeping a dead moth as a bookmark without realizing that it turns to dust. There's nothing more spectacular in terms of these images are not so beautiful or great or grand, but there's simplicity and there is a bit of melancholy, perhaps. There's no better medium than photography which we can be reminded of, or which reminds us how life is fleeting and we need to hold it in whatever form we can. So I call this collection On Earth We Are Briefly Gorgeous, inspired by one of the most evocative books that I've recently read, which itself is a meditation on impermanence and vulnerability and the enduring nature of love. I guess When people come and ask me, why did you photograph these everyday mundane images? I said they are not everyday mundane images. And they are not things that we should ignore and overlook and pass them by. There should be some way of holding it. And that's why we hold it and we behold it in some form. And that's the truth. The second rule or thought or an idea, call it whatever you want, is let there be light. For me, life and light are intrinsic, inseparable. If light, it is light that allows us to comprehend the world when we first emerge out of our mother's womb. And it is the same light that fades away when we take our last breath. But how many times we stop and pay attention to light touching our lives as we are passing each day by? How often do we pause and notice how light illuminates our existence? After photographing for many years, I discovered that felt both obvious and profound. The word photography comes from Greek phos, meaning light, and graphe, meaning drawing. Photography literally translates into photographing or drawing with light. That realization changed everything for me. I didn't just take photographs anymore. I began to see the world differently. The first thing I notice about a place or a person, even when I'm not photographing them, even when I'm not holding a camera, is the source of light. Where is it coming from? How is it falling? What is it revealing? What is it hiding? And this awareness feels very life-affirming. Without light, there is darkness. You can never truly see life with hurried eyes. When you slow down, when you stop being restless, you begin to pay attention. Something shifts. You start noticing the things that usually would go ignored. The way light enters a room, the way it rests on someone's face, the way it quietly transforms the ordinary into something worth having a conversation with. Light is always present, patiently waiting, and it doesn't ask for attention. It only asks to be seen. And when we finally slow down enough to notice it, life begins to reveal itself in ways that we have never imagined. In learning to read light, I learned to read life itself. And perhaps photography is not about capturing moments at all. It is about paying attention to what has always been there in front of you. So the last thought that I'm going to leave you with is about wonder. Have you ever wondered about the word wonder? Let there be wonder. I don't have a clear awareness when and where and why I started getting drawn to the ambiguous, the esoteric, the abstract. As humans, we seek control, clarity, comprehension, consistency, closures. But how many times do we truly find them? And if you live enough, you'll realize that whatever you're seeking won't come in the form that you're expecting it to. Hence, I started surrendering myself to chance, to epiphanies, to wonder, and to impreciseness rather than seeking distinctness from my images. I choose to be guided by intuition over instructions. I also feel there's so much that we will not know, never know. So much that lies beneath the primer of human feelings and the human condition. And I'm more drawn to what's concealed than what's obviously there on the surface for us to see. Hence, at times photography becomes a tool of excavation. I'm more interested in photography being an inquiry than an answer. I have two choices that I can leave you with. One, you take a look at the photograph and say, wow, that's so fascinating. Two, I wonder why this feels so fascinating. I'm more interested in the latter because it opens up realms of semiotic, symbolism, meaning making. And that's where you begin to question what you're looking at and not take it for granted. We live in the time of selfies. And a lot of people, in some way, they feel they are making memories through it. Perhaps some are also seeking validation while presenting a curated version of themselves to the world. For some, it is also about proclaiming self-love and yearning for a connection with the other. I wonder if these were the same reasons why Frida Kahlo and Van Gogh painted self-portraits. A few years back, I was returning back from work, and I was startled to see a reflection of mine on the windowsill of a storefront. And I was startled to kind of see what I was looking at. It was a reflection of me. But I paused and wondered, is this really me? Because it didn't look like me. And that began the inquiry into a project called Who Am I? Which was, in some sense, a way of understanding, is this the person that I know, or this is the person that you inhabit? I feel that we live in multitudes. There are many versions of us. And I'm not the person who I was yesterday. My feelings and expressions are constantly in a state of flux, blurring, sharpening, morphing, distorting, altering. This project might not be so much about making memories or narcissism, but it's about accepting, embracing, celebrating the many versions of me that I acquaint on a daily life. And how am I being able to do that is because I'm filled with wonder, and I'm curious enough to take something that's seemingly everyday, like a selfie, and then challenge it to be more nuanced, discreet, enigmatic, interesting. So maybe photography is not about making better images. Maybe it's about becoming better witnesses, to love more attentively, to see more slowly, to hold what's fleeting with care. Because one day, all that will remain of us is what we choose to notice. Perhaps photography is how reflection turns into refraction, when what we see outside quietly alters what we feel within. My father used a camera to hold who and what he loved. Perhaps I do the same. And maybe in the end, that's all photography has been. A fragile human attempt to say, this mattered, I was here, and for a moment, I saw. Thank you.